Hello and welcome back to Channel England Football. My name's Gary and this is my post-match analysis of England versus Romania. So as you know, England won 1-0 on the night. So here's my thoughts on how I think the performance went, and I'll also be giving my player ratings and my overall England score. So just before I give my initial thoughts, please like, subscribe and comment, throughout this video. It'd be great to hear your guys' opinions on the game. I know a few of you have been talking with me about this before this one. So yeah, let's get into it. So my initial thoughts, so England versus Romania. I did say, didn't I, at the beginning of this week that this would be the easier of the two games that we had this week. I did think we were going to win by more than 1-0. It was a 1-0 victory for those of you that don't know, but I assume you do. It was a 1-0 victory for England, a penalty it was. But on another night, it could have been more, probably should have been more. We had plenty of chances. I think the worrying thing again is that Romania had plenty of, well, not plenty, but they had chances. Sam Johnstone pulled out one of the saves of the season. Unbelievable save. So there's a lot of concern actually regarding England's defence. It hasn't been the strongest. But I think for me, the main thing about the game was the surprise selection, the starting lineup. None of those players from the Champions League teams played, which I find really odd. Essentially, these two pre-match games have been a bit of a dog's dinner, and it's been through no fault of Gareth Southgate. It's just the way it's gone. A couple of players nursing niggling injuries. There's obviously those players that were involved in the European finals, so it was a really odd starting 11, quite an exciting one. So for those of you that don't know, Sam Johnstone, Mings, Godfrey, Shaw, White, Sancho, Phillips, Woodpress, Grealish, Rashford and Dominick Calvert-Lewin. So yeah, I did predict about a week and a half ago that England and Southgate would play his strongest starting 11 possible. I was wrong. And I also predicted that we would know his system by the end of this game. I honestly thought we would know what system England are going to play come this time next week. But I'm not sure we do. So yeah, that's my initial thoughts. So we'll get straight into the player ratings. So like I said, Engnet this week was Sam Johnstone. So following Jordan Pickford, who played against Austria, and I think Sam Johnstone, I think he's put himself as England's number 2 behind Jordan Pickford. The game, he had a fantastic game, absolutely fantastic game. Now, I know, it wasn't about, and it's not like, I think it's going back to the Austria game as well. I rated Jordan Pickford quite high for that game, and it's not because they both had a tremendous amount to do, but what they did have to do, they did it incredibly well. And obviously that save from Johnstone was just stunning. It was a fantastic save, and for me, it gets an 8 out of 10. He's put himself above Jordan Henderson. He's put himself above Dean Henderson for me. As England's number 2. I think he was absolutely fantastic on the night. So yeah, well done, Sam Johnstone. So going on to Tyrone Mings, I'm going to say it now, and I don't like to criticise any player or or the England team at all until I've given them the chance. But for me, Tyrone Mings, I just do not trust him. I do not trust him at the back. I think he's a bit of a liability. I think he's reckless. If anyone was on social media during the Austria game, you should have seen that, he completely took a striker clean out off the ball. I think he was making a few mistakes as well. He just looks shaky and dodgy, and I just don't trust him. And this is him looking shaky and dodgy against a Romanian and Austria team that aren't exactly going to set the world alight. So Mings, for me, he wasn't great. 6.5 out of 10 for me, but I wouldn't start him at all. Even Maguire being fit or not, he's not my preferred centre-back at all. Moving on to Godfrey. I think Godfrey had a better game. He was involved a lot more. He looks a big, strong, powerful player, Godfrey. I'm glad, he really got stuck in. I've not seen much of him. I'll hold my hands up on that. I've not seen much of Ben Godfrey play at all. But, he had a really good game. He had a really, really good game. And for me, 7.5 out of 10 for me. Yeah, I think he was brilliant. Moving on to Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw was, I think, and people are probably going to criticise me, I think he was our worst player on the pitch. He just didn't look like he wanted to be there for me, and that's fine. It was a nothing friendly. I feel like he wasn't fighting for his place. And what I mean by that is, his place obviously in the starting 11. I think he's already been told he's starting against Croatia. I really do. And he just looked like a player who didn't want to didn't want to really make the effort, didn't want to obviously cause any silly injuries. And he just wasn't involved in the game at all. And for me, you know, a 6 out of 10 for Luke Shaw, but it's obviously that's not the player we've seen all season. I fully expect much better from him come the tournament. But for me, it was England's worst player, and that's saying something. So, yeah, 6 out of 10 for me for sure. So for White, obviously, fantastic news that he's been called up into the England squad. I'll come on to that at the end of this video. But for me, he had a great game. You know, he's passionate. I enjoy seeing him play. I think he's a really good player. I'm glad Southgate's picked him, and I know it's controversial. I'd like to see Prowse go, but you know it's great that he has done. You can see why he has done. He's versatile. He can play in different areas, and I think he had a good game for England. So, you know, I'd say 7 out of 10 for White. I think it was a really good game from him. Sancho, he didn't have an horrendous game. You know, obviously he hit the bar. He was involved in play, a few 1-2s and things like that, but it's the same criticism again for Sancho, and I know it's a friendly. You just expect more from him, and I don't know if that's a bit harsh. I've given him a rating of 6.5 out of 10, but I can see why people would be upset about that rating. But at the same time, I just feel like we don't get the Sancho anywhere near the Sancho we see at Dortmund, and it's another example for those fans who have this criticism over him in an England shirt, is that he just doesn't produce it for the Three Lions. However, you know, we've all said it, I've said it, this is a friendly. He did okay, he did what he needed to do. So for me, I think 6.5 out of 10 is a fair rating. Phillips, going on to Phillips, I struggled to see what Phillips offers, really. I know he is just Mr. Safe and Secure, isn't he? He really is. He's not going to do anything other than do what he needs to, and sometimes you need players in the pitch that, you know, are going to do that, and he's not. I feel like he's never going to let you down. I feel confident when he's on the ball. He had an alright game. For me, 6.5 out of 10. I don't think there's too much to say about Phillips. Moving on to James Ward-Prowse. So I think I struggle between him and another player for man of the match for me, but he just wasn't. He was fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He was one of England's best players. I have put another player above him. But for me, it's an 8 out of 10 for James Ward-Prowse. His set pieces are unreal. He's the best set piece taker we've had since Beckham. There's no doubt about that. I know people are saying that we've got Trippier and Trent Alexander-Arnold, but they're not on the same class as this lad on set pieces. They're really not. But having said that, he's not likely to start in the games anyway, even if he would have been picked by Southgate. But for me, he was brilliant on the night. Really good player, involved in everything. He showed his worth. He's done everything he possibly could have done to be offered a place in that squad. It wasn't enough, but that's Southgate's choice. So let's stick by him. But for me, James Ward-Prowse, fantastic player. Played absolutely brilliant football. Threat all night, 8 out of 10. Moving on to Jack Grealish. Again, I think man of the match. I know in the last game I gave my man of the match to Grealish. It was actually officially Saka, but in this game, for me, he was man of the match again. He's just, winning the penalty. He's just everywhere, isn't he? And I did say in the last video that he's played his way into that starting 11, and I believe he has. I really do believe he has. He's such a threat in terms of he's just there. I think I just said it last time. He's just a pain in the arse for anyone who's playing against them. He just wins fouls. And England, and it's a criticism going back, we struggle for some reason to create from just open play. So him winning free kicks is going to be so vital for England, and he's got to start. He has got to start. So it's brilliant. Yeah, 8.5 out of 10 for me. Really, really well played. Rashford, obviously he scored the winning penalty. I think he was a bit of a mixed bag though, mixed bag of a game. He looks sometimes, the Rashford of old, but then other times he just looks like he's struggling for form a little bit. And he did have a few chances. He's quick, obviously he looks fit. And also that he does look fit. 7 out of 10 for me, Rashford. I think he could do better. I think it's going back again to Sancho, and it's another player, and I think it was raising the game where you've got Sancho and Rashford and Calvert-Lewin, and when stuff isn't happening, you need those players to make things happen. And I feel like in that game, Sancho and Rashford didn't. They just... You want something more from them. And I get it, again, I'm saying this about 1,000 times, it is a friendly, I know that, but you do want a little bit more from them. But 7 out of 10 for me, it was a good solid game. So Dominick Calvert-Lewin, last player, 7.5 out of 10 for me. I think he had a good game. It was a pain. He should have scored. He was unlucky not to. He should have took the penalty as well. But I think he was a pain. He was a real threat. He showed exactly what he's going to be worth at this Euros. So for me, 7.5 out of 10. You know, well done, Calvert-Lewin. So that brings me on to just a few of the subs. The main one I want to talk about is Jordan Henderson. The big thing is about whether he's fit. I think when he came on, he played absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to give him a rating. In fact, no, I will give him a rating. I think he was a good solid 7 out of 10. He did nothing wrong. He didn't look, he didn't look rusty. I know it wasn't high tempo or anything like that, but he didn't look a million miles off. I think he's worth taking in the condition he's in. I really do. I do think he's our best centre mid. I've said it before and I'll say it again. And he is a leader. Unfortunate about the penalty. I did say actually at the time that this is, he was the player who missed against Colombia. When he stepped up to take it, I did fear that was in his head and he just wanted to put that to rest before the tournament. And actually, he's probably done the opposite now. He's put himself under a huge amount of pressure if we have another penalty. But, he's done... He did what he needed to do in the game. So well done, Henderson. I think it's worth taking. So overall England performance, I think we played better than what we did against Austria. I think we were a better team. We looked more threatening. We certainly created more chances. For me, though, you still expected more from England, particularly against it is a weaker opposition. I think Romania played well in parts. They never really looked like threatening too much, apart from that really, wonder save from Sam Johnstone. But England, they played well. Good effort, I would say. 7 out of 10. They did what they needed to do again for me. So that's it. That's England's last game before Croatia, which is obviously this Sunday at 2 o'clock. Now, these past 2 games, you can argue that we haven't been at our best. We haven't been great, but we certainly haven't been terrible. Let's bear that in mind. But please, I am seeing it, particularly with the announcement today of Ben White replacing Trent Alexander-Arnold. The negativity just around England fans, and I say that with commas, but these so-called England fans, and we're so obsessed, aren't we, with just constantly, we're looking at our team and we're not talking about the positives. All we want to pick out all the time is all the negatives. You look at all other teams in Europe and none of those have got, they haven't got the perfect squad. Nobody has. I think someone was saying earlier, look at Belgium's 2 centre-backs. They're old, they're aging. They haven't got the legs. You look at France and, you might look at Griezmann and think, oh, right, he's unreal, but he's had a couple of poor seasons. And, there's a whole host of teams that are in this tournament that have got their own problems. And England, like everybody else, have. But I think if the only concern we've got is Jordan Henderson or who's replacing Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think that's a pretty good place to be. We're not thinking who's going to score the goals as such, as long as Kane stays fit. We're not really struggling for any creative players. We're not struggling for defensive options. Yes, the quality might not be as strong, but we're certainly not struggling for defensive options. And we've got plenty of players who can play through the middle. The negativity around at the minute, I just want England fans now to just get behind the team. This is what he's chosen. I think it's a great squad. We need to put it into context and start to realise actually we're going to be a threat to other teams. Have confidence in our team. Let the lads just go out there with a clean slate. The tournament starts Sunday. It did not start this Sunday. So against Croatia, we will know we'll know what England's all about. I'll be dropping a video later this week about my preview for the Croatia game. I'll be picking my starting 11, not Southgate's, because it'll be completely different, but I'll be picking my starting 11 for the Croatia game, and I'll be giving my predictions to the England-Croatia game as well. It's finally here. I cannot wait. Wembley this Sunday, 2 o'clock. Bring it on. Let's start with a win. Please, let's start with a win. Southgate, will have a fantastic starting 11 that day. Don't you worry about that. And I cannot wait. So thank you very much for joining me. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of my player ratings, my thoughts. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm talking absolute rubbish? Who's your man of the match? And let me know as well in the comments your thoughts about the Croatia game. Who would you start? What your predictions are, because then I might even discuss some of those in my next video that I'm probably going to drop Wednesday afternoon. But thank you very much for joining me. Please, again, like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Even if you're not new to the channel, please like and comment. So, yeah, see you on the next video. Thank you very much, guys.